Hi, Shane Simpson back here with you for installment number 3 on adding improv devices, as I call them, to a blues in the key of E. Again, this is number 3 in this Add Jazz series, as we're calling it. Well, we're going to start moving around. We've been trying, in the first video we stayed in and around the 5th fret through all 3 chords of that E blues. And then the second video we were up in the 12th fret area, what I was calling box 1 in the key of E. Very quickly, just so we know our boxes, they'll be written down for you. I'll just accent here, just to get them out of the way, make sure we all know them before we start ripping around here. This is E blues box 1, just a low octave here. I know that's whipping by, but again, it's on paper. Here's box 2. Box 3 is this guy. And box 4. Box 5. Now box 1 up the octave. Box 2 up the octave, still key of E. Box 3 up the octave. Box 4 is getting tiny, but you can get them. There we go. Now it's imperative that you can transpose those, in our case right now, to the key of A and the key of B. So A blues, box 1 would start here on the 5th fret, blah, 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 and box 2 would start 3 frets above that and take on the same shape as box 2 was in E. So you need to be able to transpose those for sure, because we'll be calling out boxes and device numbers all over the place. So it's important you know where we're at. So going back to the very first video when we were together, we were in basing it in and around box 3 in the key of E. This guy, I'll remind you. Now that guy, we found our 2 improv devices in that area for all 3 chords. And I want you to know that you actually, if you follow through with that, you actually know more than you may think you know now, because we can take those and move them around. I'll give you an example. This is our E, device number 1 in E here. There he is there. Here's device number 2. You know those from the first video. Here's device number 2 up the octave, and device number 1 up the octave. There we go. Now, if I was to just take that, box 3 in E, those were box 3 ideas in E. Now, we're moving to A, let's say. I'm going to just drag that up to where box 3 would be in the key of A, and that would be on the 10th fret. So it would be exactly the same fingering for the devices up there as it was down here for E. So that would be, here is device number 1, device number 2, number 1 again. Whoop. There we go. Box 2, excuse me, device 2. And this would be number 1. So that's exactly the same fingering as we had down here. So that's box 3 in E, moving to box 3 in A. If you wanted to change, when the chord changes, you wanted to go running up there, then we'd have box 3 in the key of B for our B7 chord, the 5 chord in there. This would be device number 1 here. Going to device number 2, device number 1 again. Here's your crisscrossy fingering of device number 2. And device number 1 up the octave. So that was all 3 the same fingering. Now, so you could go running around. Let me give you an example. Here's a 12 bar. I'll give you an example. It's pretty athletic. You got to go running around. Here it is in the key of E. And we've got E. And we're heading up to A right here. Back to E. We're going to B up here, A, and E. And now so that's pretty athletic, as I say. You're having to do an awful lot of running around. It's kind of uncomfortable, but we'll build on that. When we were in the first video, when we went to A in this area, we were trying to stay in that area, we ended up playing off what would be box 1 in A, unbeknownst to us possibly at the time, but that would be box 1. I'll review those. This is device number 1 in A, as we found it in that area, and this would be number 2, and you can get another one here. That's device number 1. Takes it a little out of position, but that's okay. Device number 2 up the octave. There we go. So that would be out of box 1 in the key of A, right? So I could move that around too. So that would be an A there. So maybe I'll go to E up here. So it would be here in the 12th fret area. And this would be box 2 up the octave, or excuse me, device 2 up the octave. 1 again. And here is 2, and there is number 1. Exactly the same fingering. So box 1 in A becomes box 1 in E if we drag them up. Of course, it's going to happen in B as well. So this would be, that'd be 7th fret, because that would be that's where box 1 would be in the key of B. So here's box 1 in B, device number 1, device number 2, device number 1 down the octave. Here's number 2 up the octave. So exactly the same thing. So let me run that just through a 12 here. Again, it'd be running around. 2. Here's device number 1 in E. Going to A. Down we go. Box 1. Back to E. B is here. Going to A. And back to E. Up. B. So again, same trouble. That's a little bit too much running around for my liking. But we're getting better. We're getting better. We're going to be able to jump from one to the other. Now, couldn't I go, if I was up here, box 1 in E, that we just did, couldn't I run to box 3 in A, which is right beside here, right on the starting on the 10th fret? So it looks something like this. This is E, device number 1. And now let's say we hit the A chord, let's say, and here is my device number 1 in A, box 3. And all that comes with that. So we've got something nice and close by. That's where this is leading. If I bring you back to, again, video number 1, we were trying to stay in this position. We found our B ideas. And guess what? That is coming out of box 5 in B. Box 5 in B. Here is your device number 1. I'm just reviewing from that first video. And here's your device number 1, that was. And device number 2 here. And device number 1 up the octave. And device number 2 up the octave. That's all in B now, in that area. So that was box 5. So that, where am I going to find that in E? Well, I'm going to find that here on the 10th fret. So all the same ideas. Yes, your device number 1, device number 2, and that was number 1. So what do we have here? Again, I'm in E, box 5. Let me do that again. That's number 1, device number 2, device number 1, that's device number 2, in E, box 5. Now I should also be able to play that in A, so I could run down here. Box 5 in A is going to be this guy. There's your device number 1, here's number 2, and device number 1, and device number 2 up the octave. There we go. Now you could also run up the octave with that, right? 12 frets higher, maybe here. That is A, device number 1, box 5. Where are we going here? There we go. That would be device number 2. So we've got, and then in box device number 1 again, and device number 2. So we got lots. Okay, now we can run around. Now we can really run around. Suppose a couple ideas here. I am going to go box 1. I'll run through a 12 bar or 2, and I'll go box 1 in E, because it's really hard to call them out as I'm going. I keep blowing it, so it's harder to do that than it is to play them, as I was saying. So here's device number 1 in E blues, box 1. There we go, and all that comes with that. You know your device is in there. And I'm going to run to box 3 in A when it hits the A chord. So that's 1 in E. It's going to go box 3 in A. And then I'm going to go to box 1 in B. I'll go to box 1 in A, and then box 3 in E, if you can keep track of all that. So let me just noodle a little bit and try to call them out as I go, and then I'll stop talking. Here it comes. This is box 1 in E. Now I'm going to go box 3A. It was close by. And I'm going to go now to box 5 in E. Now here's B, box 1. And this is A, box 1. And box 3, E. There's your E, B, box 5. So top again. Here is box 1 in E. That's box 1 in E. Now I'm going to box 3 in A. To box 5 in E. Here's box 1 in B. box 1 in A, and box 3 in E, to box 5 in B. Okay, that's tough to call out. So one. There we go. So a lot of fun to do. I don't want you to get the impression you have to do a lot of thinking when you're doing this. You try to get that thinking out of the way by the way you organize things. So let me sum it up by saying that what you really have is box 1 in E, all the associated devices in the octaves that we've put them together. Then we would have box 1 in A, same thing. Box 1 in B, same thing, same fingerings. Then we have box 3 in E, box 3 in E. Then you'd have box 3 in A and box 3 in B. Then you'd have we also did box 5. So you've got box 5 in E, which is here, and you got box 5 in A, which is either down here or up the octave, and box 5 in B, which is right here in your 12th fret. And you can mix and match, so you don't have to go chasing all over the place. That's the idea behind this. And if you stuck around for the second video, you're also going to know box 4. You're going to know box 4 because what happened in box 4, when we were trying to stay in that second video, we were trying to stay in the 12th fret area, we came across box 4 in B, box 4 in B. So you could add that to the mix as well. But take it slow, take it slow. You may want to just try box 1, move around, then try box 3 and 1 to combine to your closest possible move from one chord to the next. You don't have to do a lot of thinking if you just do a little bit of homework on it and really know where you are. So again, I hope this has helped. Thanks for coming back to see me, and we'll see you again very soon, I'm sure.